Okay, I'll continue. You know, of course, that our earth is very, very old, millions and millions of years. You all know that you know, of course, then Harry is telling that you know, of course, that our earth is very, very old, millions of years old, and for a long, long time there were no man or woman live in it. Before man came, there were only animals, and before the animals, there was a time when no kinds of life existed on the earth. So, in the millions years ago, there was nothing on the earth. We can we can see only the creatures, small creatures, some trees, plants. Nothing was there in the millions years ago. Only the animals. Sometimes, after sometimes, there will be no men or women living on it. Before men came, there were only animals, and before the animals, there was a time when no kinds of life existed on the earth. There was no life, nothing was there. It is difficult to imagine this world of our which is so full today of all kinds of animals. So now it is very, very difficult to imagine that the world was is filled with so many animals, men, women, everything. And ours, which is so full today of all kinds of animals and men, to be without them, but scientists and those who have studied and though a great thought, a great deal about this matter. So, scientists also studied about this, and they said that they thought a great deal about the matter. Tells us that there was a time when the earth was too hot for any living being to live on it. It will be sometimes it will be very crowded. You can see so many people. Sometimes ago, scientists researched and dealt with this matter, and they said that anyhow, when the earth was too hot for any living being to live on it. If we read their books and study the rocks and the fossil, rocks means you all know big rocks near the mountains and near the ocean, and fossil, you can fossil means it's a skeletons and some animals or human beings. This is called fossils. We can ourselves see that this must have been so. So you are going to read more books about and study about the fossils and about the rocks, and ourselves has been must be so. You read history in books. You are going to read a history, but in old time when men did not exist, sure no books could have been written. So in the olden days, in the history means we can read some about the sculptures that some olden periods about the most important and peoples we can read in the history more in olden days there will be like Raja and all, so that is called about their history who have created the history of their own, that we cannot see. But in the old time when men did not exist, in the olden time there was no man, so how could we done? No books could have been written, nothing book, no book has been written about the olden history later on millions of years. How then can we find out what happened then? We cannot find nothing. What happened then, we don't know. This is a question mark. We cannot just sit down and imagine everything. We cannot sit and imagine what happened in that time. This would be very interesting for we could imagine anything we wanted to and could. So that we can imagine what we can it would be what happened on that time. So therefore make up the most beautiful fairy tale, so that this imagination makes us to the most beautiful fairy tale. Fairy tale means you all know that it's a novel and a story of some fairies. It's a fairy tale is very beautiful to see, right? So it's like a fairy tale. Full stop. But this need not be true. But it need not be true, as it would not be based on any fact we have seen. Though we have no books written in this far of days. So no books have been written about that in far of the day. Fortunately, we have some things which tells us a lot, almost as much as a book would. So something would be tell, something we know about that. We have rocks and mountains and seas and stars and rivers and desert and fossils of old animals. Fossils of old animals means it's a skeleton of some animals, old animals. All this we can see. It tells us a lot about this. If there is no human being, so that we can learn more about this. These are our books for the Earth's early story. This we have to make a story about this, most of the nature. You want to know more about the nature first. You want to learn what is the nature. These are our books for the Earth early story, and the real way to understand this story is not only to read about it in other people's book, but to go to the great book of nature itself. And the real way to understand this story is not only for read about the other people's book, but to go to the great book of nature. It should be how it should be. It should be a great book of nature. It should be. You will, I hope, soon begin to learn how to read this story from the rocks and mountains. Soon begin to learn, start learning about it. You have to learn what do you mean by this rock, what do you mean by this mountain, and what is this animals, rocks, water, everything you want to come to know about this. Imagine how fascinating it is. Exclamation mark, you can see this. Imagine how fascinating. Every little stone that you see lying on the road, every little stone will tell you something story about it. And you have to think that, or you have to imagine about that. Or on the mountain side, maybe a little page in nature book and may be able to tell you something. So you can make a little, even one little stone on the road, you can take a place in your book, may be able to tell you something if you only knew how to read it, to be able to read and any language, like it should be written in any language, Hindi or Urdu or English. You have to learn it, alphabet. You have to learn it as a alphabet. So also you must learn the alphabet of nature. It's no need of learning of alphabet of languages. You have learned the alphabet of the nature, more about it. Before you can read a story in a book of the stone and the rocks, even now, perhaps you know a little how to read this. The main however, you have to know that what it is and what you have written in this book, and moreover stones and rocks. If you see a little round shiny pebbles, what do you mean by pebbles? You can see in the sea or oceans, in aquatic places, it's round and small in color. It's very soft. That is called pebbles. If you see a little round shiny pebbles, does it not tells you something? It does not tells you something. Question mark. How did it get round round and smooth and shiny. How did it get? How did it will be a smooth and shiny? As it is, it's grown? No, it doesn't grow. Without any corner or rough edges. Without corner, you have seen that pebbles, children. It's very soft, smooth, shiny, and you'll get for aquarium. You'll keep it in the aquarium. That stones, color stones. That is called pebbles. It's very shining, soft, and it's very beautiful to hold. It's very soft, no. So it happened soft. We'll get the type of pebbles in the ocean, river. In that places we'll get how it has become very soft, its corner has become very smooth, shiny. If you break a big rock into small bit, each bit is rough. If you're going to piece a rock, bit of rocks, how it will be? It's so many pieces, it will be sharp, it's very rough, hard, and you can see in the edges it's very sharp thing. It won't be as soft and rough edges. It is not at all like a round and smooth pebbles. It's not at all like a smooth and round pebbles. I said you. Full stop. How then did the pebbles become so round and smooth and shiny? Then how come it become so round and shiny? How it will be happened? It's a magic? No. It will tell you its story if you have good eyes to see. The pebbles will going to tell you story if you have a good eyes to see and ear to hear it. It tells you that once upon a time, it may be a long ago. This is the story that Pebble is telling, that once upon a time in the long ago, it was a bit of a rock. It's a bit of a rock, small piece of rock, just like the bit you may break from a big rock or a stone. If you break it, it will become very plenty pieces. That rocks will become very small piece of stone with the plenty, and edges and corners are very rough. Probably it rested on some mountainside. You can see some stones, lots of stones is rested on the mountainsides because of the river or water waves will come and hit that rocks, and it will become small pieces, and no one going to put that stones or nothing else in the water or ocean. How you get from the rock itself? The water waves will hit the rocks, on that hitting the rocks, the stones will fall down into get into the small pieces. Just like the beads you may break from the big rock or a stone with plenty of edges and corner, probably it rested on some mountain side. First off, then came the rain and washed it down to the little valley. So after that plenty pieces of stones, the river water will come and take it away those stones, because the waves will come and take all the stones away from there, washed it down to the little valley where it found a mountain stream which pushed it on and on till it reached a little river. It going pushing and it's going on the water. And the little river took it to the big river, and all the while it rolled at the bottom of the river, and its edge were warm away, and its rough surface made smooth and shiny. It's after pushing from the water is pushing that stones, and it's rolling, it's moving from 1,000 kilometers away. So it has become very smooth, and edges, all the edges are very rough, and edges are very sharp. It has become very smooth and shiny. It's rolled at the bottom of the river, and its edge were warm, heavy, and its rough surface made smooth and shiny. It looked like smooth and shiny. That pebbles, that color pebbles, full stop. So it became the pebble that you see. Somehow the river left it behind and you found it. It is the river had carried, and it has become a small pebbles in the color. You can found that. Okay, this is about next page. I told you about the pebbles, right? It would have become smaller and smaller till at last it become a grains of sand and joined its brother at the seaside to make a beautiful beach where little children can play and make castle out of the sand. So, if the pebbles will tell so many things in their life, means what about others? So this is about the pebbles while going through the water, it's rolled together. It's how it the stone, you can see the stones, you can see that is sharp and edges will be very sharp. So it's going through the water in so many kilometers. It's round and round. It has become the soft, like soft and in color. So smaller and smaller, and it become at last it become like a grain. This stones as it will going to become a sand and joins its brothers at the seaside to make a beautiful beaches. Brothers means it's with the whole so much of sands. Beautiful beaches with where little children can play and make castle out of the sand. So coastal side, little children are used to play. Even people will go some visiting some places like in beach side. You will prepare. You will do the houses in the sand, and you will put some sands on your legs, and you like to play. If a little pebbles can tells you so much, how much more could we learn from all rocks and mountains and the many other things we see around us? So, this is what Nehru wants to tell about the futures and the nature. If one small pebbles is telling so much of stories about this, what about other nature? What about for small stone and small trees is telling so much of stories? How much more could we learn from the other rocks and mountains? So, and the many other things we see around us. So, in this story, we can learn more thing about even back of one of little bit stone also there will be a big stories. So to become a beautiful, if we want to be a beautiful, we have to be in the good manner, and we have to learn more about the futures and nature. This is what Nehru wants to tell about the nature to our daughter, to about his ideas. Letters from a father to his daughter, Jawaharlal Nehru's letter to his daughter Indira. He wrote a letter day by day. He is in a prison, so moreover, so he started writing letters to his daughter to know about the country and the nature, more about over the nature that she want to know, and she should come in her life. This is the story of this lesson.